Hey guys, hey everybody, it's Dr. Nicole coming to you live from Senegal. I had to restart the video because there was something with the earphones. What's up, you guys, or the AirPods, I should say. Look, let's talk about this whole identity of being able to rest in your feminine. Yes, yes, yes. What's up, everybody? Come on in the room. I was just having assalamu alaikum, walaikum assalam. How are you doing? I was just having this conversation with someone, and I was just saying, whenever I'm in Senegal, Sister Susan, yes, and I should put that in the description. I was just telling somebody that first of all, yes, I am somewhere warm. I was just telling someone that first of all, I incorporate resting in my feminine into my whole lifestyle, right? But especially when I travel, right? And we know that, like, if you allow yourself to, you can fully immerse yourself just in relaxation and just pouring into yourself when you go away. Yes, sis, yes. But I have found that for so many women, it's not even about where they are. Because I hear women say, oh, well, if you're in America or if you're here or if you're there, you can't, rest in your feminine if you're in the Western countries. Absolutely not true, right? Because like with everything else, whether it's being able to have boundaries, being able to really rest in your femininity, being able to really allow yourself to be that soft space first of all for yourself, as well as the other people in your life. It's really it's a mindset and it's an identity shift, right? And I'm going to tell you 3 ways that you're in your feminine, 3 ways that signs that you're not, and why it's hard from you to get from point B to point A, right? We're trying to go the opposite. Point B is like you're so stressed out. We're trying to get you to point A where you're free, you're relaxed, and so forth, right? So 3 signs that you are really able or you are resting in your feminine is that you are able to be deeply present, right? In conversations and discussions, you're not distracted. You're not like overly thinking about other stuff. I have some people in the background, right? Sign number 2 is you are able, hey there, I have some guests that are probably going to come. Sign number 2 is that you are able to be in stillness. You are able to really relish in that stillness. You're not always antsy, fidgeting, looking for the next thing to do, right? There's always going to be a long to-do list, right? But a lot of us are not able to just sit and be. We're not able to just sit and be in the stillness, the quietness, right? We should all have at least 10 minutes per day where we're completely quiet. We're still, whether that's in meditation, whether that's in prayer, whether that is just in sitting with your thoughts and really listening to your intuition, right? And you're resting in your point number 1. Okay, Sister Susan, you want me to go back to point number 1, right? Point number 1 is being deeply present, right? A lot of times we tend to be very, okay, Angel Dodson, you want to request to join the video? Give me a second, right? You want to be, a lot of times it's hard for us to really be present. We're distracted. We're not fully engaging with that person. And that is one of the most attractive things, right? A lot of times couples lose their attraction with each other because they're not taking time to be fully present. But even outside of a romantic stance, right? Being fully present shows someone that you are with them, that they matter to you. And it's a reciprocation that really feeds that energy for yourself and for that other person, right? So that's point number 2. That was point number 1. Point number 2 is to be able to be in stillness. A lot of times we're trying to run from here to there, get a to-do list of 100 items, trying to get everything done in the next 10 minutes. And it is just overwhelming, right? We need to learn how to be still, right? And so much of what I've been doing, I'm in a very remote and rural area. And whenever I travel, I do the touristy things, but I'm also doing other stuff, right? Right now we're doing family stuff. I'm with my kids. They're visiting their grandparents and their family members. But really learning to be able to be in stillness. Sit. Stop rushing. Stop trying to, oh my God, I got to start. I've seen women literally sit on the couch and get up and then feel like they have to start dusting, cleaning, getting things prepared, right? So I can't even get those women to take a nap, right? That's way down the line. First of all, let's just sit down and be still. You should have 10 minutes of stillness each day. At least that's where you need to start. You can just start simply by sitting in a chair. You don't even have to overcomplicate it, right? The third way that indicates that you are really resting in your feminine is that you have a sense of intuitive self-care. I know we hear about self-care a lot. And self-care is so important, right? But intuitive self-care is self-care that is not dictated by anyone outside of yourself. Because I know a lot of times we get pressure to kind of like have the pictures and, oh, self-care, I got my nails done and massage, facial. And I love all of that too, right? But it's really about being in tune with what you need, whether that's rest, whether that's to eat, whether that's connection, whether that is to slow down, or whether you need some sort of stimulation. Intuitive self-care is really through that stillness, knowing what it is that you need so that you can pause and be willing to give it to yourself, right? And it's really truly based on what you need. It's like your body and nutrition, right? A lot of times our body, based on things that we crave, will tell us things that we're deficient in or things that we need. And we have to listen to that, right? And it's the same with the rest of our well-being. We really have to listen. If we're tired, stop pushing through. Take a day off. Rest. Take a nap. If you're hungry, stop trying to push yourself to some sort of artificial diet where you're starving yourself and you're not nourishing yourself. If you love to work out, that's great, right? But sometimes you need a rest and recovery day. I call myself, I'm a certified gym rat. I love exercising and all that stuff. But you have to listen to your body. Sometimes your muscles, you have to know the difference of when to push through and when to pull back. And that's something that only you can tell yourself. That is through really tuning into your intuition. That's what we call intuitive self-care. Okay? So those are 3 points: is deep presence, stillness, and intuitive self-care. 3 ways that you know you are not resting in your feminine, and you might even be resisting resting in your feminine. You're in a stage of resistance. And part of that is you're not ready to make the shift in your identity. One is you are deep into hustle and grind culture. Everything is about pushing through, hustle, grind. And sometimes it's not, you're doing it just for the sake of hustling. I know a lot of people say, oh, I'm trying to get the bag and all of that. No, you're not, because a lot of this hustling is for pennies and cents. It's not a lot of hustling that is really leading to some sort of lucrative outcome. A lot of the hustle is because this is just what you're accustomed to. And a lot of it, to be quite honest, is a trauma response. It's a trauma response. It's the opposite of being in stillness, because sometimes when we're in stillness, we get afraid. We like, oh my God, all of these thoughts, all of these feelings, I can't distract myself anymore. And so we get into hustle. That's what we do, right? Okay. I hope you guys can hear me. I had to start the video again. Sorry about that. We were talking about like why it's hard for you to rest in your feminine. That you know you are resting in your feminine. There are 3 ways that it's that are signs that it's hard for you. One, you are deep into the hustle culture, and we were saying the hustle culture is really not even about money. It's like it has become a way of life, because a lot of this hustling that we are doing, right? Yes, I'm doing point number 1 of the 3 ways you know you're not in your feminine, Sister Susan, right? That it's hard for you to rest in your feminine. You're deep into hustle culture. And it's not even so much about the bag or the money. Sometimes you're telling yourself it is. And even if it is, right, you still have to go into, you have to have a more balanced lifestyle, right? Because hustle is going to do nothing but burn you out and deplete you of your feminine. The second thing is you are neglecting your boundaries, mostly by not saying no, overcommitting, and just not having any sense of limits. Boundaries are really limits. And first you have to have boundaries with yourself. And because we get so caught up in the hustle culture and telling ourselves we have to be on go, we have to be everywhere, we have to fight for every cause in the most intensive way, we have to be there for every single person immediately, right? That leads us to more hustling, more neglecting our self-care. Okay. And so we're not putting limits on ourselves. It's not that we can't do the things, but we can't always do all the things at once, right? So you're neglecting your boundaries. The third sign or symptom that you're not in your feminine, you're not able, or you're not resting in your feminine, is that you are making stress and fear driven choices. You are coming from a scarcity perspective, which is probably what's driving you to all of the hustling and grinding, not resting. And it's coming really from a sense of I am not enough. And I have to make choices that are coming out of fear, out of scarcity, and out of lack. So you are really kind of in a constant fight or flight mode. And that's mostly not because of fight or flight is really important. And now we talk about freeze and fawn. That's a whole other video. But basically, fight or flight, that's a necessity. Our systems need that to protect us. But a lot of us are not really up against real threats. We are up against perceived threats. These are our perceptions. So much of modern stress is a perception, of mental perception that we have. And it comes from worry. It comes from all of what we call, I've been reading this book about disruptive emotions that disrupt our balance and our well-being. And so these are things like fear, like fearing that we're not enough, or we're insignificant, or that there's going to be lack, or we're going to be rejected, right? It's all of these mental perceptions that we have that cause these emotions in us. And what happens is that leads us to make fear-based decisions, stress-based decisions. We're not ever taking time, remember, for stillness, for sitting, for calmness, for being present with people, with our own intuition, or with people who can really advise us in a positive way. We're looking at the blogs, we're looking at all of the news, we're looking at the arguments and the things that people are saying, right? And that's causing us stress. And we're making decisions and we're choosing things out of that stress. We're either choosing things that we don't need, or we're choosing not to invest in things that could help us, right? It gets us all mixed up. We're choosing things like stress eating, like getting distracted, always on social media, always doing things that are negative. And we're choosing not to do the things that can actually bring more balance. Now, I'm not saying you should stay off of it. You should see, I made a reel with my daughter, a reel where my daughter talked about social media and what she learned about social media from Alexa. You know, the Alexa little things that we have in the house. And she asked Alexa about the mental health tip of the day. And it said, when you start feeling like you're not feeling good, even if it's something you care about, you're following a cause, you're following something, and your heart is beating, you're feeling stressed out, you're feeling not good about yourself, you need to get away from that. You're following content. Hey, you're following content that is making you feel like you're not good enough, or making you feel bad. Hasanatu, say Nyale jam,
Jantu,
Nalato,
Eyo,
Konafi Honda. They're teaching me Pular. So I'm not saying don't use social media, right? I'm saying use less of it. Less of it if you're using it as a distraction. If you're not doing business, or you're not promoting a message, or have a platform where you're trying to inspire people, then you need to, and even with that, you need to put time limits on it. What is your strategy? Why are you using it? Could you be out in nature? Could you be going for a walk? Could you be cooking? God forbid you tell a woman to cook, right? But I love cooking because it's creation at its finest. Taking nothing and creating nourishment from it, right? Or could you be using that time to read, to connect with somebody else? There is so much you could be doing besides scrolling and watching news, getting all upset and mad about who's arguing. You know, the media now and social media, it's really meant for us to argue. I am literally astounded when I see points. When I see points, anything becomes an argument. It's men against women. It's black against white. It's Israel against Palestine. It's like everything, any little point becomes a point of argumentation. And that is not healthy because it puts you in a heightened state of perceiving things as dangerous, and you've got to pick black or white thinking. That's what you have to do when there's danger, and you have to pick this or that. You can't see things in a more nuanced way, right? So be careful of all of these. A lot of this is algorithms. It'll show us things that make us get hyped up and anxious and nervous, and then they bring ads, and it's a whole thing, right? So I'm not saying, hey there, thank you. I'm not saying don't use it. Obviously, I'm sitting here talking to you on social media, right? And then, so that's the 3 points of how you know you're not resting in your feminine. You're hustling, you're in a hustle mode all the time. You're neglecting your boundaries, and you are making fear and stress-based choices. Now, why is it that it's hard for us to rest in our feminine? For a lot of women, it's an identity. It requires an identity shift. There's so much backlash. Look at the comments. Any woman who talks about femininity, about really managing your masculine energy, about being softer, more feminine in your relationship, in your life, everybody, they're coming, they're calling you a pick-me, they're saying all these things, right? There is a backlash because women feel like it makes them weak. Women feel like it is, they have all kind of viewpoints that indicate they're not comfortable with not only their own femininity, but other women who are expressing their femininity. They want to argue, fuss, and fight, and all of these things about it, right? It's because they have not made the identity shift. And the identity shift really requires you be in a place of healing, in a place of understanding why you get triggered about these things, and in a place of seeing the bigger picture, seeing that just because you display strength in this moment doesn't mean that you've won the war, right? What we've been taught, a lot of us as women, is that we need to fight now, because that's going to lead to us winning the longer war, so to speak. But a lot of us are fighting battles because we're triggered, and we're not thinking about the big picture, the bigger war, which is our well-being, our balance, peace within our relationships, our romantic relationships, peace within our friendships, more social connections, right? Those are the things that are the outcomes that most of us, I would think, are looking for, but we're not ready to make the identity shift to go there. We want to stay in a place of being hard, of being argumentative, of debating this, that, and the other, of black or white thinking, us against them. This is a place that a lot of us want to stay in. And in order to be able to really do those things that I listed that show that you're resting in your feminine, you really have to be willing to pause and ask yourself, what identity am I holding on to? Am I holding on to the triggered, trauma, hard identity? Or am I willing to make that transition to the healed identity, which indicates a softer you? Are you more willing to rest in your feminine? Are you more willing to accept ease in your relationships? Right? That's the identity shift right there. This went way longer than I thought. I'm sorry I had to break it up into 2 pieces, but thank you so much for joining. Make sure you watch the previous, I think it was 2 days ago or 3 days ago, the video I made. We went to the waterfall. and I was with my kids, and we just had such a great time. But that's an example of being present with the people that matter and that are important to you. So I want everybody to just commit to that. Put a 1 in the chat if you're going to do that. If you are going to commit to taking some time for stillness, to be fully present with the people that you care about, or someone that you care about, or just another human being, right? And being really trying to develop your intuitive sense of self-care, what it is you truly need for yourself. Okay. Yes, we'll definitely continue to keep you all in my du'as, and just hoping that everybody's doing well. That's all I want for all of you all. All right. Take care, everybody.